You hear often, you read often about the New World Order. In your opinion, what does that look like these days?
Yeah, so we've already seen since 2020, and folks can do their own research. I highly encourage you to do this. Go online and type in a new Bretton Woods agreement, time for a new Bretton Woods moment. If you type in those phrases, you'll find news articles from 2020 and 2021. And these are news articles coming straight from the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Bank of International Settlements. So essentially this conversation is happening behind the scenes. That's the conclusion that I've come to, looking at what's playing out right now and looking at some of the data information that's available. And I think what this is going to lead to with this Bretton Woods 3 moment, just like with Bretton Woods 1 and Bretton Woods 2, it was a process of things, a series of events that happened that eventually led to a massive outcome. It's not just one thing that's going to light the fire of this rocket ship of Bretton Woods 3. And I still see that there's several more events that will occur to eventually lead to this final renegotiation of this new monetary system. And just like with Bretton Woods 1 and Bretton Woods 2, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We don't have access to the inside information in Davos. We don't have access to the inside information from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where all the central bankers meet every year. So we don't know how this will play out, but we could look at see this and say that China is in a position of strength. Russia, believe it or not, regardless of the press that you're seeing, you could see that they're in a position of strength from a negotiation standpoint. Sure. If they're dictating to countries of how they will receive payment for their goods and services, that leads me to believe that they're in a position of strength. And of course, the United States still, to this day, if one of the biggest spenders on military, there's military bases all around the world. There's still a lot of wealth here, gold reserves and so forth. It's going to be interesting to see how this Bretton Woods 3 would have been renegotiated. We'll get the inside scoop when it's done, how this went down, and they'll probably make a movie about it too, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. One of the big things that we talk about is, what can you do about it? What can you as an investor or a business owner do about it? Because we all see what's happening, folks that are paying attention. And if you look at what Zoltan Polznar said in that article, the concept of inside money and outside money, he said, as I've said earlier, Bretton Woods 1 was based sort of around outside money. It had gold in as a foundational piece. Bretton Woods 2 had inside money, counterparty risk vehicles at its core. Bretton Woods 3 might revert back in some way, shape, or form to outside money, which is gold, silver, commodities, and then also Bitcoin, if you can put it into that category. So as investors, it's very important to have a diversified portfolio at this time. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket in a world with so much uncertainty, so many things going on. So we look at having a sizable position of cash to absorb shocks and capitalize on opportunities. We look at commodities, metals, a good solid metals play. We look at our cash flow portfolio. Real estate is a phenomenal asset. It is a hard asset. It is going to be an asset that is in demand because folks would want to still reside somewhere, live somewhere. They're going to need that, and or vacation somewhere. Go somewhere where they can spend some time for enjoyment. And then, of course, there's growth vehicles. I mentioned an outside money. Bitcoin being one of the things that could be added to that. You need a little bit of both of Bitcoin, of metals, of cash, and of course of a cash flow portfolio. So you need many different horses to run different tracks for you in times that are uncertain. You need many different tools in your tool belt to help you perform the tasks that you need to perform that's in front of you as a business owner and investor.
I think everyone realizes, or people that are following it closely know, that money is never going to be the same again. And we've talked about that on previous episodes as well. and you're talking about different asset classes right now, and I want to talk about something specific here in a minute that you've brought on this channel before that's just gotten tremendous results. But for inflation hedges right now, and we love the diversification of the portfolio. We always preach that, don't have all your eggs in one basket, have multiple revenue streams as well as best you can, so that if one goes away, you still have other sources of income there, of course. Let's talk about capital, allocation, and particularly with assets. You mentioned real estate. You talked about short-term rentals. That's something we're super high on this channel. We'll drop some links to some of those videos below as well. Your mechanism, or your vehicle, if you will, for folks to really get into investing, utilizing the infinite banking strategy or the infinite banking concept and whole life insurance. Can you talk about how that really ties all of this together, and how you and your team can really help people with that diversification of their portfolio? Of course, if they are interested in getting more information from you, they can go ahead and email ninja@vipfinancialeducation.com. We'll go ahead and drop that link below as well. But what does that look like, MC?
Yeah, and great points about all those areas to position capital in. As part of a capital positioning strategy, we still recommend holding cash. Cash is a buffer in your strategy. There is going to be a blind spot in every investor's portfolio. Billionaires will tell you this. They don't expect to know all the answers. So they prepare for anything and everything, but recognize that there's a blind spot. So you need a buffer, a volatility buffer within your overall portfolio. And that's what cash is. Think about a worst case scenario, something happens to real estate. Well, if you have access to cash at that stage, you'll be able to sustain a knock that came in that direction. What if something happens? There's a lot of folks talking about crypto, and that's into crypto. And I see the Bitcoin moon boy and moon girls, and Bitcoin
Right.
fixes everything and so forth. What if there's a massive drop in crypto? And what if folks have, for example, collateralized loans in crypto? How do you fix that without losing your coins? Well, you need cash. You need access to cash. What if you run your businesses and you have a down month, or something happens, there's a wild card event that impacts your business? Well, you're going to need some cash to sustain that. Cash is the one thing that can balance this all out. So where do you keep your cash? I am not a big proponent of recommending anyone keeping large amounts of money in a bank right now, for many, many different reasons. That's an entire show by itself.
Yes,
So
it certainly is. Yeah.
yeah. So where do you keep your cash? One of the things that I mentioned earlier was the concept of counterparty risk. So when you look at counterparty risk, it is when you're putting your money with a custodian or an institution. There's a risk to that, because what if you cannot access your capital? What if that institution loses your cash, right? And by the way, if you deposit money into a bank, you essentially become a lender to them. They just owe you that money. The way that the laws have been written since the last financial crisis, there's bail-in provision clauses and all these laws and so forth. So for me, and how we still see it, we look at who has been great custodians of capital and who has been great stewards of other people's capital. And that makes you look at the mutual insurance carriers that's been around since the mid-1800s in this country. And I always say, if you want to look at how someone's going to behave in the future, you look at their past behavior. Same thing with financial institutions, same thing with operators that you're working on. If they've done the right thing in the past and have been good custodians and stewards of other people's capital, there's a very high probability that's going to happen again. Mutual insurance carriers have been around, as I mentioned, since the mid-1800s. So they have seen many different shock waves. Some of them have seen a civil war in the United States. Some of them have seen several central banks, which the Federal Reserve is the third central bank. that has existed in the United States. Some of them have seen 2 world wars. Some of them have seen through Bretton Woods 1 and Bretton Woods 2. They've gone through all these shock waves, financial booms, financial busts, recessions, depressions, and so forth. And some of them have an unblemished record of paying dividends. One carries since the 1840s every single year, which means they were profitable. So when I look at mutual insurance companies, just by their past behavior, they've been great custodians and great stewards of capital. It leads me to believe that the probability is very high in the future that they would still be great stewards of capital and great custodians. So we utilize mutual insurance companies and we structure very specific insurance policies for a cash value as a savings mechanism to warehouse your cash in. So it's in these insurance contracts with these mutual insurance companies outside of the Wall Street casino and outside of the banking system. You can access that capital for any emergency, for your business to grow and expand, for purchasing real estate or more, and for any other needs that you might have, very, very easily. And that obviously you can access those funds tax-free. And that's why we love that vehicle. We still love it. And I'm starting to also see what's happening on the inside of the financial world, what family offices are doing. They are very big proponents of this. And we're talking now families with net worths combined of $100 million or up. They are really, really positioning capital in these vehicles because of what I've just shared. They also believe that these folks have been great custodians, great stewards of capital. Where do I position my capital in this this reset, monetary reset? Well, I position it where there's a proven track record so I can access it and capitalize on the plethora of opportunities that will be available for all of us as business owners and investors during this time.
No, I love that vehicle, and that's what you talk to them if they do reach out to you with the email. That's what you guys are talking about. That's a consultation effectively about the whole life, and you guys are making recommendations. You guys are advising, how to not only get those set up, but kind of what, depending on really risk aversion, I guess, is what a lot of that boils down to, and where they want to deploy capital. You guys are advising them on that. Guys, we continue to bring MC here on the channel and talk about specifically the infinite banking concept, because time and time again, we're getting tremendous feedback from our audience of people that have gone down that path after watching the videos that we presented with MC on here. And we just have untold amounts of tremendous feedback. So appreciate you sharing that with us. So anyways, guys, thanks for joining us here today. If you like the information, you want more videos like this, smash that thumbs up button below. That helps out our algorithms, lets us know that we're on the right track and continuing to bring great expert guests like MC here on the channel. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe below and go ahead and hit that bell. That's going to give you the heads up as we bring additional content here on the channel. Typically drop a handful of videos every single week. That said, thanks for joining us on the VIP Financial Education YouTube channel, where we talk about all things credit, capital, and cash flow. Until next time, make it a great day. Take care.